today's MMA Tea Company Fighter Spotlight is with Matt Ryan. Matt's got a slew of events coming up from grappling to MMA to kickboxing, always staying busy. Matt, thanks for joining us today. What do you got coming up? What's going on with your schedule?
So next will be August 7th. Back in the cage. It's been a little while since I've been in the cage, and I'm very excited. I think after that sometime I'll be getting in the cage or on the mat. Not sure which, but for a grappling super fight. That date is to be determined sometime in August. And I've already been asked to be on a kickboxing card out in Iowa, September 25th, I believe it is. So got 3 things lined up, and I'm ready to just knock them all down, get a bunch of wins.
So let's start with the MMA fight that you have. You said coming up August 7th. It has been a little while since you've been back in the cage and in the cage. I know you've been doing some kickboxing, you've been doing some grappling. So why do you feel now is the time to get back in the cage? Do you feel your skills are kind of coming together and you've been putting the different pieces together?
Yeah, definitely. I feel like the last time I was in the cage, my striking was subpar and my jiu-jitsu was the worst part of my game. And I was mainly just a wrestler. But now I'm ready to get in there and fully mix it up. I think my jiu-jitsu is now my best part of my game, and my striking has evolved leaps and bounds.
And, coming into MMA as a wrestler, it's something that a lot of amateurs and a lot of young fighters, they really rely on. But to your point, right, it can be something that can also be detrimental if you fight someone who has good anti-wrestling. So having run
Yeah.
into that, right, it made you kind of feel like you had to evolve. So when you went back to the drawing board, were you and your coaches like, all right, you got to get better at jiu-jitsu, or did you work on your striking first, or what was your game plan then getting back together?
Submission defense was the first thing. I was tired of getting caught in different chokes from the front headlock. I like to shoot my double leg. I like to shoot my single leg. So I'm tired of getting caught there. Then we started working on the offensive stuff from the top, and then the striking after that.
And I know you're going back into the cage, but then you also said you have a grappling match coming up, a super fight. You have a kickboxing fight coming up. So are you just constantly in the gym, constantly training? Is it something where you'll put a different camp together or like change your training up for these different things? Or are you just, whatever they put in front of you, you're just going to train and you'll show up that day and do that thing?
I train every single day. I focus a lot on my recovery, and the only thing I do different when it's in camp is I ramp things up a little bit. But I love to compete. That's why I'm going to stay an amateur for a little while longer, because I like to just be able to compete whenever I want without having to worry about lose a paycheck.
Mm-hmm. And coming from that wrestling background, you kind of have a leg up in terms of that one-on-one mentality of competing against someone. So, is that something that you enjoy? Is it something that you look forward to? Is that one-on-one competition? Is it something that you had to get used to as a kid and now it's something that's easy for you? But talk me through that, like just you and somebody else locked in the cage and that's it.
It's my favorite thing to do in the world. There's nothing like it. I've been doing this since I was a kid. I've always wanted to be a fighter. I started wrestling when I was 8. Even before that, I was a football player, and I just like to hit people.
Mm-hmm. And what are your, you said you always wanted to be a fighter. You started wrestling. Wrestling is one thing, but then getting in the cage is another thing when you're talking about like your parents, your family, things like that. So, what are their thoughts about you fighting?
At first, they were not too happy about it. I had to lie to my parents and tell them that I just wanted to train just to get in the gym. Told them I was never going to fight, that was a lie from the start. And but now they're at every fight. They love it.
And who would you say gets the most nervous when you fight?
Um, Definitely my mom.
Mm-hmm.
My
Yeah,
mom is she's a bit of a nerve freak, so she sits there, she's shaking the whole time, but she loves it when I win.
awesome. And speaking of nerves, is that something that you have battled with going into cage fights, it's obviously different than wrestling, right? So when
Mhm.
you're in the back, are you calm? Are you jittery? Are you nervous? What do you like when you're back in the backstage warming up?
I usually take a nap until about maybe 5 fights before mine.
Mhm.
I'll just tell my guys, hey, wake me up when it's time to start getting ready, and I'll just lay down on the ground. I usually got a pillow and a blanket with me, and I just nap.
And then your warm ups for
That's what I
MMA
always did
fights.
in wrestling.
When you're warming up for your fight in MMA, is it a long warm up? Do you take a short warm up? Is it just striking, just grappling? Do you do situations? Talk me through what that's like.
Um, if I got a mat there, I like to work a little bit of grappling, but mainly I'm just warming up, getting my body moving with my striking, all my normal combos, and
Mhm.
uh, I've started to make my warm ups a little bit longer because I've realized it helps my cardio more the more I get that sweat going.
Mhm. And in terms of cardio, I know you said that you take your recovery very seriously, but cardio is kind of the one thing that you can control in the cage. Are you just training for
Mhm.
that, or are you running? Are you swimming, riding bike? What does that look like?
I do like to ride the bike every once in a while. I'm trying to get away from it and do more of the running and the swimming because those are what really get my cardio going. I love swimming, one of my favorite exercises to do. But yeah, I'm a firm believer in cardio. I want to be able to outlast everybody. That's how I wrestled, and that's how I want to fight too.
And then that recovery that you spoke of earlier, does that entail like cryotherapy? Do you do massage? I know a lot of the guys like the massage guns, they buy them themselves and use them. So, when you say you take your recovery very seriously, what do you mean by that?
I take CBD every day. I have Tiger Balm always on hand. I have my foam roller, my massage gun, my stick roller. My girlfriend is amazing and gives me massages whenever I need them. And then I love to do ice baths and Epsom salt baths.
You can keep those ice baths. They're too much for me. I'll stay away from that. Um, so,
Most people agree with you there.
so you got a pretty busy end of this summer, August into September. I don't want to look too far ahead because I know you do have three things coming up, but what does the future look like for you? You said you wanted to be an amateur for a while. Do you have a goal in mind of a certain amount of wins, a certain amount of fights, before you go pro, or are you just kind of taking it each event and learning from it? How does that feel for you?
A little bit of both. I'm looking at about a 2 year span of the rest of my amateur career and then go pro. I'm
Mhm.
hoping to get at least 10 to 15 fights in, whether it's kickboxing, MMA, just a bunch of different experience. I like to try to compete once a month, and I know I'm not going to be able to keep that going as a pro. I'm gonna have to really focus down on my MMA, but man, I love jujitsu tournaments too, so I'm not ready to give that up yet.
Yeah, and I think a lot of pro fighters, all the way up to your Bellators and your UFCs, a lot of those guys are doing, super fights and grappling matches and things like that. And I think, that
Hmm.
competitive grappling scene is really growing. You see,
Oh yeah.
the guys like Gordon Ryan and the like doing the fight to wins and the who's next, who's number one and things like that. So, is there a goal of yours to kind of do like a parallel grappling and MMA, or are you strictly focused on MMA once you go pro?
I would definitely still, if given the opportunity, love to compete on one of those big shows. And I do have the goal to eventually at least try the ADCC trials, see
Mhm.
if I can make it in.
Awesome. Yeah, that's the best grapplers in the world. So I'm excited
Hmm.
to see you give that a shot and test your hand there with those guys.
Oh
Um,
yeah.
Before I let you go, I always like to give everyone I interview a chance to shout out just who they're working with, coaches, training partners, anybody who's been supporting them along the way. Like you said, your girlfriend gives you massages, things like that. So open up the floor to you.
Just big thanks to all my coaches and training partners at Mantino Fight Club and everybody up at Rufus Sport who lets me come up there and beats me up.
Awesome, Matt. I appreciate your time today. Good luck through August and September. I know you got a bunch of events coming up. We'll be in touch and looking forward to seeing you compete over the next couple of months.
Awesome. Thank you.
Awesome. Thank you.